This is John Murphy recording a training from Indianapolis, Indiana. And if you followed my content, I've done a lot of different iterations of where we're going now. And singularly speaking, the focus of these videos that I'm going to put out there is strictly for loan officer training. Because when it comes to training right now, there's so much content and so many people screaming from the mountaintops about their production from 2020, 2021, that they reference their old successes to validate the advice of today. And the reality is this: the market is shifting before your eyes. So some of the people who had these high volume levels are no longer close to it. And some of the people with high volume levels have already pivoted and shifted, and they're not even training anymore and offering that. So when I looked online when I was brand new, or even as an experienced manager, and then as an owner, it's hard to find people who are walking the talk and doing the things you say. Because there's no resume required in success requirements to post on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, and share the information. Truly, the more interesting and sexy the information, the better it sells, the more fun it is to watch. The problem is, it's just that. It's a shiny object versus the principles, and what we're going to focus on is truly the virtues of becoming a great loan officer. Because one of the issues I see most in the marketplace that goes unanswered is, how do I increase my production? There's so many trainings out there, but it isn't as hard as people think, right? It's simple, but not easy. So let's go with the best way I've found to start this discussion for most loan officers. So when someone meets with me as a natural extrovert who loves to talk and share ideas, I will come up with a lot of strategies. Stop by open houses, dropping by direct mailers, hosting events, making your outbound dials, sending outbound DMs, posting on social media. And a lot of people just say, stop right there, John. I don't like that. So instead of giving suggestions now, what I do with most people is I do some inversion thinking. I say this: tell me all the things about your business that you don't want to do. And here's what most people say. They don't want to talk to agents. They don't want to talk to customers. They don't want to do loans sometimes, right? And in turn, what we recognize really quick is the very things you don't want to do are the very things you have to do to become successful. So you don't necessarily have to make outbound dials, but you do need to figure out ways to get appointments with agents, right? You might not like social media, but you can leverage social media through posting text, posting pictures, or even sending DMs to get meetings and have affiliations with people you want. But the most important starting point to improving your production is creating this inversion of what's holding you back, and realize you need to get clear on the things you're willing to do and not willing to do. And then we can make a plan based upon them. Because this business, and when it comes to success, is not one size fits all. One of the biggest producers in the country right now primarily generates all of her business from YouTube. That's very rare, just so you know. And some of the most successful people in your local market, in your area, in Indianapolis, don't post on social media. I don't even know if they look at social media. So you've got to factor all these things in as you're thinking through the right way to do it. The second way to quickly increasing your production is this idea of process versus passion. On the internet today, I hear people say, if you love what you do, you never work a day in your life. Yet I have failed to meet any of these people that truly are passionate about their vocation to the point they say, I'm never working. Work is hard, right? It's just like being a parent. It's just like doing training for something. Hard work pays off, and it's just not always easy. So what I always think when it comes to sales as a loan officer, and we actually get into what people's process is, what I find is most loan officers are not following any process. And here's what I mean. If I ask you to tell me about your week before the week starts and lay out your whole week's schedule, 99% of LOs I know do not work from a program schedule. The second piece, when I do look at their schedule, it's a very much a responsive piece versus a proactive piece. Before your week starts, you should know what you do on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. You should have a pre-spelt out to-do list for each single day. But what happens is people fall in the passion, they love the creativity, and then they get away from these processes, which are the very things that drive the revenue and the volume that you want and need. Number 3, I think we have become so interested in planning as a culture and as a world about our goals, our future, our beliefs, that we forget what has really been the driver of all success, which is your effective daily action. And one of the things I've been focused on is let's look at your week, right? Because that's truly your roadmap for success. And then let's look at your daily actions versus trying to figure out and reinvent your whole business. Because most people are just destroyed by interruption, and then they're destroyed by distraction. So by the time I actually meet and talk with them, and I talk through some of this aversion thinking, talking through their passion, by the time we get in their daily action, they're like, John, I don't even know where to start. So when you really start boiling down what I'm talking about in this training, it's all about the productivity, and by eliminating all these things that are really hurting you to figure out the things you need to focus on and actually do. And lastly, in this market in 2025, if you're not tracking your numbers and looking at your pull-through rates, looking at where your referrals are coming through, look at where your closings are coming through, or better yet, you have no loans, you got to start measuring the actual activities you're doing. So here is the starting point of the activities you need to track. How many inbound referrals that you've gotten this month and where they came from. How many of the referrals equaled applications, and of the applications, how many actually became live files? And then of the live files you had RESPA triggers on, how many actually closed? Because what I see, what most people in this business are talking about is they're so worried about social media, perception, what other people think, that they get away from what this business is really built on, which is serving the customer the best. And the ideal way to get the most customers is by serving your referral partners at the highest level. And we'll talk about that in another training. But without measuring what you're doing, you're probably going to struggle to really feel out what's going to work for you in 2025. Because here's some challenges that I've seen with the market and as things have changed and volume has gone down. Because what we all thought going into 2025 was it was survive till 25. We all thought we would be rolling in the dough. Volume would be picking up, purchases would be going through the roof, all because rates have improved. What do we see now? We see a ballooning federal deficit. We see rates staying pretty much the same in the upper sixes. We have no idea if rates are going to improve in the next 2 years. So the paradox that most LOs have is this. They don't know whether to be fearful about their career or pissed off about it, right? So this LO paradox is that we want certainty of our income, right? But as we go down these paths of the things that bring us certainty, which is an effective daily action plan, what happens is then I hear the second piece of this. The second piece is more LOs want more uncertainty. And that's where if you're an LO, you think about, John, I don't want this many loans. I don't want to do this many presentations. I don't want to do these pieces. Because the hardest part to talk to about the LOs is this. It's balancing the certainty of your day-to-day with the variety of the role. But when that job changes is that we get so far away from taking the daily effective prospecting actions we need to take, our volumes goes down, we get frustrated, and we kind of spin out and burn out because we're focused on the right things because we got away from this daily action plan. So here's the LO paradox that I'll tell you. The fastest way to get unburnt out is by going back to the basics and measuring what you're actually doing. Because what we do is we often talk through the idea of what we should be versus the reality of where we are and how far we have come. Because we can always paint the future better than it is, we remember the past better than it is, and we downplay what we can do today. So if you're stuck in this paradox right now, and this is a challenge, it's all about one piece, focus. Because what you focus on grows. So remember that if you're struggling or you're trying to increase this productivity, eliminate things out of your schedule and focus on those daily action plans. Number 2, LO's biggest mistake, and this is a painful thing to talk about right now, which is this. We think the job should be different than it is. It's amazing to me how many LOs have told me this idea that they want to get out of production and in some type of management override, recruiting, new company idea in 2025. John, the market's too hard. Yet what the market is really telling you is this. There's 2 groups of people who are getting rewarded in the 2025. The people who can do loans and the people who can teach a team how to do loans. If you're not in those 2 categories, the path forward for you does not look good. So keep that top of mind. So as you underwrite the market in sense of I need to make a change or do something different, realize that is the single biggest elephant in the room is that is the job of doing loans, talking to borrowers, and working with agents. So if you're getting burnt out, see the discussion I just had in that LO paradox. And then lastly, and this is the final of the challenges of 2025 that nobody likes to say. I'm different. I'm better. I'm more special. I'm more deserving. Look how much work I've put in. I should be treated differently than what the market's telling me. Because what you have to remind yourself anytime you're trying to improve is that you're no different than the next person. It's the naive LO who truly believes they're so unique that they can pave the way of the future. Because one of the things I learned very early on in my career is that pioneers very rarely win at the game of being a loan officer. You can try all the new things, all the shiny objects, but what really drives business is connecting with agents, providing them value, and taking care of their customers. That is a tried and true method. But now in 2025, people are all over the place. They're distracted, they're not focused, and ultimately they're not taking action. So if you really want to increase productivity and make a difference in what you're trying to do in 25, review this video, identify the things you're willing to do, focus on creating a process that you'll fulfill, take action every single day, and then ultimately measure. And then as you get some of those results and you track it, pivot and make the changes required so that you can make a difference. And as always, if you need some help or support, send me a DM. Would love to help and talk and support your business. Have a great day. John Murphy signing off.